Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
4 months ago, I was working a comfortable information technology help desk job until layoffs hit. To make ends meet, I started driving for a rideshare company. Then, out of nowhere, I landed this job as a radio frequency engineer, doing cell tower testing. It's not exactly a common job. Most of us get flown around the country to wherever we're needed. The pay is amazing, but the work can be brutal. Thanks to our company's former CEO making promises he couldn't keep about rolling out new technology ahead of schedule, we're all working double shifts, 7 days a week. Most nights, I end up sleeping in my rental car because there's no point in getting a hotel when you're working non-stop. So there I was in rural South Dakota in November. My rental car, looking like a mobile office, had exploded inside it. I had 5 antennas on the roof, a laptop showing various signal readings in the passenger seat, and enough food wrappers and empty bottles to fill a small trash can. I hadn't showered in 3 days because finding a gym or truck stop out here is like finding a needle in a haystack. I was parked on this narrow dirt road on the side of a mountain, almost finished testing a cell tower when this massive Ford F-250 pulled up behind me with all 4 headlights blazing. At first I thought they just wanted to pass, so I moved my car over as far as I could to let them by. Instead, this woman, who I kid you not, looked exactly like every Karen meme you've ever seen, got out and walked up to my window. Rather than knocking like a normal person, she used her ring to tap on the glass, making this awful sharp noise that nearly made me jump out of my skin. When I acknowledged her, she demanded to know what I was doing there. I explained about testing the cell tower and pointed it out to her, mentioning that I worked for a contractor company. She scoffed at my explanation and insisted that she wouldn't believe someone doing official work would be in a car like mine. She then demanded to see my ID. I showed her my contractor company ID, but since I was new, I didn't have anything with our client's logo on it yet. She immediately dismissed it, saying she'd never heard of my company and questioned why she should believe me. When I mentioned having the work order email on my phone with the tower coordinates and technical information, she declared it wasn't good enough. She then announced that I wasn't going anywhere until the police arrived. To my shock, she actually parked her truck sideways across the road, blocking me incompletely. She got back in her truck, rolled up her windows, and started scrolling through Facebook, completely ignoring me. I could even hear her turning up her radio. I had to live stream the whole situation to my coordinators through WhatsApp while we waited for the sheriff, who was apparently 20 miles away. Over an hour later, when he finally arrived, things got even weirder. The deputy started by asking her version of events, and she claimed I had been coming out of her driveway and acting suspicious. I quickly corrected this lie, explaining that I had been parked in the same spot the whole time testing the tower. After checking my work credentials, the deputy's whole demeanor changed. His face turned red, but not at me. He turned to her and explained that lying to the police was a felony and that blocking someone in like she did could be considered false imprisonment. I immediately spoke up and said I wanted to press charges, explaining how she'd made me miss my next site and lose my second shift commission. The deputy ended up arresting her right there. I got to watch her face turn from smug to shocked as she was placed in handcuffs and read her rights. Since then, I've made some changes. I got magnetic decals with the cell carrier's logo for my car, switched to more official-looking vehicles like Ford Explorers or Chevy Silverados, and always wear an orange safety vest with the company logo. I even added the carrier's logo to my ID badge. The funny thing is, if I really had been up to no good, would I choose some random dirt road in the middle of nowhere at 6 p.m. with all my lights on? And who in their right mind blocks in someone they think is suspicious? That's just asking for trouble. If she was really concerned, she could have just noted down my license plate and called the police from the safety of her home. But I guess common sense isn't so common after all. After pulling a 12-hour shift, trying to fix a critical bug in our system, I was exhausted and definitely not in the mood to cook. The thought of my favorite pizza was the only thing keeping me going. There's this great pizza place inside the supermarket near my apartment that makes the best deep dish pizzas I've ever had. The supermarket has this interesting setup with two food shops side by side. On the right, there's this amazing pizza place that exclusively serves pizza and drinks. On the left, there's a grill shop that sells everything from hot dogs to chicken breast and various salads, but no pizza. Between these shops is a shared seating area with two regular tables and one long table along the wall. I placed my order, a large supreme pizza with extra mushrooms, and waited patiently while watching the skilled pizza maker work their magic. The smell was incredible, making my stomach growl even louder. After getting my pizza, I looked around for a place to sit. The area was pretty packed, but I got lucky. Someone had just left their seat at the long table near the grill section. I sat down and had barely taken my first bite when this woman approached the grill counter. What happened next was surreal. The cashier greeted her with the usual customer service welcome. Karen immediately asked for a pepperoni pizza with extra cheese. When the cashier tried explaining that they don't serve pizza at the grill, Karen interrupted him. She pointed at me, using my presence as evidence that they did serve pizza. The cashier explained that I got my pizza from next door. Karen then demanded that the cashier go make her pizza too. When he explained that he couldn't because he didn't work at the pizza place, she got even more agitated. She couldn't understand how he could claim not to work there when he was clearly in what she thought was the same restaurant. The cashier tried again to explain that they were two separate establishments, but Karen wouldn't listen. Then she turned her attention to me, demanding to know why I was sitting in that section. When I explained there were no other free seats, she insisted that customers who order from the pizza side must sit on that side. I tried telling her it was a common area where anyone could sit regardless of where they ordered, but she wouldn't accept this logic. The commotion attracted the security guard who came to investigate what all the yelling was about. Karen immediately complained that the worker was refusing to serve her and claiming he didn't work there. The cashier, probably hoping to demonstrate how unreasonable she was being, asked her to repeat her order. When she again demanded a pepperoni pizza with extra cheese, he just looked at the security guard with an expression that said it all. The security guard tried pointing out the pizza place's location, but Karen insisted that the cashier needed to go over there and serve her. The situation kept going in circles, with Karen refusing to understand the simple concept of two separate businesses. The pizza place manager eventually came over to help. Karen complained about his employee refusing to make her pizza, forcing him to explain that the grill shop worker wasn't his employee at all. Karen then demanded to speak to the supermarket manager. When the supermarket manager arrived and explained the situation, pointing out the different logos, menus, and uniforms, Karen still wouldn't accept it. She announced that this was the worst customer service she'd ever experienced and threatened to report everyone. As she stormed out, she turned back one final time to inform me that I was in the wrong section and she would be reporting me too. After she left, the cashier apologized to me for the whole situation, explaining that while they sometimes had confused customers, it had never been this bad before. I assured him it wasn't his fault and that he handled it well. The pizza place manager came over and offered me a complimentary drink for my trouble, which I thought was unnecessary but kind. The security guard and I shared our amusement about the situation, and he mentioned he would be adding this to his collection of bizarre customer stories. What started as a simple craving for pizza after a long day at work turned into a delicious dinner and a real show. I've been practicing martial arts for 35 years, specifically Taekwondo, Tang Soo Do, and Tai Chi. I'm currently a 6th-degree black belt and head instructor at my own martial arts school. Despite having 8 surgeries throughout my life, mostly knee, ankle, and back, I've never let it stop me from teaching. I'm proud of my gray hair and won't dye it. It shows the experience I've gained over the years. Our Grand Master is pretty laid back about students and instructors wearing their uniforms outside the school, as long as they keep them clean and represent our art well. This incident happened about 5 years ago when I decided to stop by Target after teaching for 3 hours, following my regular 9-hour workday. I was wearing my white martial arts uniform, dobak, with black trim and my black belt, which has my name and rank embroidered on it. Usually, people leave me alone when I'm in my uniform, but this day was different. I had just used the restroom and was shopping when an elderly lady, about 65 to 70 years old and barely 5 feet tall, approached me. She politely asked if I could help her reach a box of pots from the top shelf. I was actually in pain at that moment. My joints had just made a concerning snap sound as I was recovering from my 7th surgery. I almost said no, but then I noticed two things. She reminded me of my mom, and she was clearly in pain herself. I kindly explained that, while I didn't work there, I would be happy to help her. After helping her, I thought that would be it. But then a young woman, probably in her 20s and very short, about 4'6", approached me doing what I can only describe as a potty dance. She frantically asked about the bathroom location. I explained that while I didn't work there, I knew there was a bathroom at the front of the store by the entrance, as I had used the men's room earlier. I suggested she could ask an employee if there were other bathrooms in the store. When I was putting plates in my cart, I heard someone clearing their throat behind me. I ignored it, thinking she was talking to the employee who had just walked by. Then I heard someone trying to get my attention again. A woman, who I'll call Karen, was staring right at me. She asked about finding an outdoor seat with specific features like heating, shade, and a drink holder. I politely explained that I didn't work there and suggested she check the outdoor area or ask a store employee. That's when things started going downhill. Karen insisted I was lying and demanded I help her. I pointed out my martial arts uniform, explaining again that I didn't work there. She stubbornly claimed it was a store uniform and threatened to get me fired by talking to my supervisor. I told her my supervisor was my master and she'd have to wait until tomorrow to speak with him, though I assured her he wouldn't fire me just because she demanded it. She refused to wait and declared she'd find another supervisor. After I repeated that I didn't work there, I walked away to finish my shopping. While I was looking at some trading cards, she sneaked up and took a picture of my belt with my name on it. A few minutes later, while I was in line to check out, I heard her voice again. She had brought over the store manager and a security guard, pointing at me and demanding they fire me while calling me names. She tried to act clever, claiming my name was written in Chinese and that her phone could translate it. She proudly announced it said Taekwondo. I had to explain that one half of my belt had my name, while the other half said Taekwondo in Korean. She kept insisting I worked there, but the manager told her I wasn't an employee and that I wasn't wearing their uniform. The security guard made a joke about how they should switch to martial arts uniforms to stop people from bothering their actual employees. When Karen demanded again if they would fire me, the manager patiently explained that I was just a customer like her. That's when she snapped, declaring I was nothing like her and that my belt was fake. Without warning, she threw a punch at me. I caught her hand mid-punch and locked it in place, suggesting that if she wanted to attack a black belt, she shouldn't telegraph her moves. The manager signaled the security guard, who quickly handcuffed her left arm. I helped by stepping forward and raising her punching arm, forcing her to bend down, allowing the guard to secure both hands behind her back. The police came and took her away. I pressed charges and so did the store. The manager thanked me for helping the two ladies earlier and offered me a job, which I declined. They gave me a $100 gift card, which I ended up giving to one of my students' parents who needed it more than I did. The next day, I told my master about the incident. He found it hilarious and assured me that if she ever showed up at our school demanding my termination, he'd give her a piece of his mind and throw her out of our dojang himself. I had been planning this trip to Mouseland for months. After my divorce last year, I needed something to look forward to, and what better place than the happiest theme park in the world. I used to visit here as a kid with my parents, and those memories were some of the brightest spots of my childhood. Plus, with my job as a traveling consultant, I rarely got to enjoy proper vacations. Usually, I was stuck in boring hotel rooms in various cities, living out of my suitcase. So, when I landed this big project in the same city as Mouseland, I decided to treat myself. I booked 3 nights at the Mouse House Hotel, which meant I could get early access to the park. The hotel was expensive, but hey, sometimes you need to splurge a little on yourself, right? I woke up super excited on my first park day. Even though the park officially opened at 8 a.m., hotel guests could enter at 7:30 and regular visitors could start going through security at 7. I got there around 6:15 and there was already a decent line forming. The weather was perfect. Not too hot, not too cold. I had my backpack ready with all the essentials: water bottle, sunscreen, portable charger, and a light jacket for the evening. Time passed quickly as I chatted with other guests in line, sharing tips about the best rides and attractions. At 7 sharp, the security checkpoints opened and the line started moving. When it was my turn, I placed my backpack on the counter and the security member started checking it. I noticed his name tag showed he was from Seattle. He asked where I was from, and I told him about how I moved around a lot for work, but had lived in Seattle for a while. His face lit up immediately. He excitedly asked when I had been there, and I told him it was about 3 years ago, where I had spent almost 2 years in the city. The conversation quickly turned to food when he asked if I had tried a Thai restaurant near Pike Place Market. I laughed and mentioned that I knew exactly which one he meant, referring to their infamous face-melting green curry. We continued sharing stories about different cities we'd both lived in, and he had some fascinating tales about each place. That's when a woman behind me, who I'll call Karen, started complaining. She made it very clear that while our conversation was nice, there was a long line of people who had been waiting. I turned to apologize, but the security member simply smiled and raised his voice, launching into a comparison between Chicago and Seattle winters. He pointed out how everyone thinks of Seattle as the rainy city, but described how Chicago's winters were a whole different story. Karen tried to interrupt again, emphasizing that some people were in a hurry. The security member acted like he hadn't heard her at all, and continued telling me about his favorite pizza place in Chicago. Even though he had finished checking my bag, he held onto it and asked about my experiences in Boston. When I confirmed that I had spent 6 months there, Karen became even more frustrated, loudly complaining about how much money she had paid to be there. With a mischievous glint in his eye, the security member announced that he should double-check my bag for safety reasons. He spent another 30 seconds pretending to thoroughly inspect it while telling me about his favorite spots in Boston. Finally, he handed it back with a cheerful Christmas wish and hopes for a magical day. As I walked away, I couldn't help but look back. The security member was now addressing Karen with the biggest, most cheerful smile I'd ever seen. He very politely but told her that she needed to empty her entire bag, emphasizing that every single pocket needed to be checked. When she protested about how he had barely checked my bag, he explained about their different protocols that needed to be followed. The security member continued his detailed inspection, asking her to remove everything, including all small items, from the front pocket. He questioned her about her water bottle, saying it needed special checking, and requested she unpack all her Ziploc bags. I could hear her complaints fading as I walked further away, but I saw her struggling to repack her bag, while the security member meticulously examined every single item with the same cheerful smile. And I kinda enjoyed watching her teenage daughter standing next to her, looking mortified and repeatedly checking her phone, probably wishing she could disappear. The security member kept finding more items to inspect, cheerfully announcing each new thing that needed checking. The last thing I heard as I rounded the corner was Karen letting out an exasperated groan, followed by her daughter quietly scolding her mother, telling her that she had warned her to be nice. I spent the rest of my day enjoying the park's attractions with an extra spring in my step, knowing that somewhere out there, an entitled woman probably learned that sometimes being patient and kind costs you nothing, but being rude might cost you precious time at Mouseland. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.